latest enjoyment in my life is suddenly, with no training whatsoever, finding myself licensee of a pub and taking it rather seriously. And the room we're sitting in at the minute, just after the war, 1946 I think, an old lady, 88 years old, in America was writing to the person who then ran the pub, recalling how as a 5-year-old she had sat with Mr. Dickens, Charles Dickens, in the upper room at the Grapes, which is where we are now. So Charles Dickens sat here, having a drink, and then put it into a novel. He changed the name, but the beginning of Our Mutual Friend is, I think, chapter 3. There's a very nice description of what the Grapes used to look like. There's a theory, isn't there, that anything that's spoken in a room is somehow in the walls. And if only you had the right instrument, you could bring it out again. I don't really feel, even, you know, if you go to Shakespeare's birthplace, the pub that Dickens used to drink in, is it full of the actual atmosphere of the person? I don't know, but once I did feel that. I was asked to record a long poem written by William Wordsworth, The Prelude, an autobiographical poem, which he'd written in his cottage up in the Lake District in Grasmere. And we decided to record it in the house where it had been written. And because there was traffic outside, we did it in the dead of night. And I must say, as I was speaking the words, which I knew had been written 150 years before in that very room by William Wordsworth, there was something special and atmospheric about that. But whether it comes through on the actual tape, I don't know. The difference between tradition and nostalgia, it's too early in the morning for me to cope with a question like that. However, I mean, I'm a local, this was my local, has been for 30 years, and the thought when the previous licensee left that it might change its atmosphere bothered me a bit, and I think that was my motive for wanting with a couple of friends to ensure that it stayed roughly as it has been. Now we've cleaned it up a bit, we've painted it, but the atmosphere has been retained. I mean, this floor that we're sitting on is a bit rickety. I mean, it's not straight. That's the nature of the house. And it's the nature of the pub downstairs, and I think the locals like it, but I mean, principally they would come in because they want a decent glass of ale, and that's what they get. And people come because they want a good meal, and they get that in the upstairs restaurant. That's the important thing. But you do just sense as you walk in, oh my goodness, people have been coming here and having a drink and enjoying themselves for an awful long time, through thick and thin. And what this pub has seen in its time, well, I think it has been quite wild in its time. I mean, any port, and this was the very heart of London as a port, is full of people who've been at sea for a long time and wanting release of various sort the minute they hit land. There was Chinatown is Limehouse, you know, Limehouse blues and opium dens. I mean, that's certainly the case. I wouldn't be surprised if opium hasn't been smoked up in this room at some point. But there was clearly stuff that one wouldn't really like to have been a part of. The first time I came to the East End was to go to a pub on the Isle of Dogs, the Waterman's Arms, to see some drag. I think Judy Garland was there that night, just in the audience, and but I came out and there was a guy with a crowbar smashing a Rolls Royce that had dared to come to the East End and was not welcome. I often wondered how Judy got home that night, but so, you know, violence. No violence in this pub. I think people sort of respect it because they respect each other. Well, I know. I mean, there are stories that the Cray brothers used to hang out at the Grapes, but I don't suppose there's a boozer in the East End that doesn't claim that doubtful distinction. Also, that they used to keep some of their arsenal behind the bar in case they suddenly needed it. I don't know if that's true. But, you know, I think clearly the Grapes has adapted itself to the times, and if that was going on when it was, then perhaps it did, but we're thoroughly respectable now, I'm afraid. We do have Gandalf's bronze statue in the snug, but the other licensees said that's enough. We don't want any more Gandalf. Thank you. And it's not one of those pubs where there are pictures of celebrities who've been here. I mean, plenty of celebrities have been here, but they've been and they've gone. You know, I can't bear those photographs of what actors used to look like. You know. There's no TV. Christmas decorations go up and they get pulled down. Otherwise, it's just the serious and enjoyable business of having a good pint or a good glass of wine or a good snack or a good meal. I think it brings out the best in the British. I mean, Brits are renowned for not being too sociable. You know, stiff upper lip, don't show your emotions, but give them half a pint of best bitter and things begin to improve, and a pint or two, and everyone's having a good time. That's what alcohol's good for. But it ain't Gandalf's pub, you know. People shouldn't come down here and expect to find me in a pointy hat and a big nose. You shall not come in here.
The best way to barb someone ever, right?
Yes, it would be, wouldn't it? No smoking in a pub, isn't that a pity? But anyway.